I never planned to fall for someone during my quiet month by the sea. I had rented the small beach house to escape the noise of the city and the ache of being alone after my breakup. The place was perfect: wooden floors, big windows facing the ocean, and a wide porch where I could sit for hours listening to the waves. It was my third evening there. The sun had just set, painting the sky in soft oranges and pinks. I was struggling to carry a heavy box of groceries from my car to the house when I heard a deep, calm voice behind me. "Need a hand with that?" I turned around. He was standing at the edge of the next porch, only a few steps away. Tall, with sun-kissed skin and gentle eyes that looked at me without any rush. His white shirt was open at the collar, sleeves rolled up. His name was Samir. I would learn that later. Right now, he was simply my neighbor. Before I could answer properly, he stepped closer and took the heavy box from my arms. As he did, his strong arms brushed against mine. The warm skin of his forearm pressed lightly against my bare arm for a moment. That single touch sent a slow, sweet spark through me. I felt it travel from my wrist all the way up to my chest. "Thank you," I said, my voice a little softer than usual. He smiled. "No problem. These boxes look heavier than they should be." He carried the box up the steps and into my kitchen, setting it down on the counter. I followed him inside. The space between us felt smaller now. When he turned to leave, he paused at the doorway. His hand rested lightly on the wooden frame, but his eyes stayed on me. "If you need anything else, I'm right next door," he said. "I'm here for the whole month, too." I nodded, suddenly aware of how my heart was beating a little faster. "I'll remember that." He gave me one last look, then walked back to his own house, but that brief touch of his arm against mine stayed with me long after he was gone. The next evening, he appeared again. I was sitting on my porch with a cup of tea, watching the waves. He walked over carrying 2 cold drinks. "Thought you might like some company," he said simply. I smiled and made space for him on the wooden bench. He sat down beside me. Our shoulders touched naturally as he handed me the drink. The warmth of his arm against mine felt comforting in the cool evening breeze. We started talking, easy things at first. The weather, the sound of the sea. How peaceful it was here. As the sky grew darker, he shifted a little closer. His hand found the small of my back resting there lightly, as if to steady me against the wind. I didn't move away. Instead, I leaned into it just a fraction. The touch felt so good, protective, warm, full of quiet longing. We stayed like that for a long time, his arm around my waist now, my shoulder against his chest. Every time the wind blew harder, he would pull me a little nearer, his fingers gently pressing into my side. I could feel the steady beat of his heart through his shirt. When it got too chilly, he stood up and offered his hand. I took it. His fingers wrapped around mine as he helped me up. We walked the few steps to my door together, hands still linked. At the doorway, he turned me gently toward him. "Good night," he whispered. Then he leaned in and placed the softest kiss on my forehead. His lips lingered there for a moment, warm and tender. My eyes closed on their own. When he pulled back, his hand brushed my cheek once before he let go. That night I couldn't stop thinking about the way his arm had felt around my waist and how safe I had felt in that simple touch. From then on, our evenings became a habit. Every day after sunset, Samir would come over. Sometimes he brought fresh fruit from the market, sometimes just himself. We would sit on the porch, bodies naturally finding each other. His hand would rest on my hip as we talked. My head would find its way to his shoulder. Our fingers would play together, tracing small patterns on each other's palms. One evening, after a particularly long walk on the beach, we came back tired and happy. Sand still clung to our feet. He sat on the porch steps and pulled me down beside him. Instead of sitting normally, I turned and let my legs rest across his lap. His arms immediately went around me, one hand settling on my lower back, the other gently holding my knee. We watched the stars come out. His fingers moved slowly up and down my spine in soothing strokes. I rested my face against his neck, breathing in the salty sea air mixed with his warm skin. Every now and then he would press a gentle kiss to my temple or the top of my head. "I like this," he said quietly, his voice vibrating against my cheek, "being close to you like this." "I like it too," I whispered back, "more than I expected." He tilted my chin up with 2 fingers. Our eyes met in the soft moonlight. The longing between us felt so alive, so tender. He leaned in and kissed me, not rushed, not demanding, just slow, warm lips moving against mine with such care. My hand came up to rest on his chest as I kissed him back. Our bodies stayed pressed together, hips touching, his arms holding me securely in his lap. We kissed like that for a long time, letting the waves be the only sound around us. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine, breathing softly. "You make the nights feel less lonely," he said. "So do you." After that, the closeness only grew sweeter. We started spending whole days together. In the mornings we would walk along the shore, his arm around my shoulders, or his hand resting on my waist as we stepped over rocks. In the afternoons we would sit in the shade of the porch, my back against his chest, his arms wrapped around me from behind. He would kiss the side of my neck softly while we talked about our lives. I told him about the relationship that had left me tired and unsure. He told me about the years he had spent focusing only on work, forgetting how good it felt to simply hold someone. We shared our dreams, the small ones and the big ones. Every confession brought us closer. One night, a sudden rainstorm hit. We had been sitting outside when the first drops fell. Instead of running inside separately, he pulled me up and we dashed into my house together, laughing. Once inside, we stood in the living room, dripping wet. He looked at me, water running down his face, and opened his arms. I stepped into them without thinking. His hands settled on my hips, pulling me flush against him. Our wet clothes clung together as we held each other. His lips found mine again, this time deeper, filled with all the longing we had been carrying for days. My arms went around his neck, fingers threading through his damp hair. We stayed like that for ages, kissing softly, bodies pressed close from chest to thigh. His hands moved slowly over my back, never rushing, just holding and comforting. I melted into him, feeling every point where our bodies touched. The rain pounded on the roof, matching the steady rhythm of my heart against his. When the kiss ended, he didn't let go. He simply rested his chin on my head and swayed with me gently, as if we were dancing to music only we could hear. "Stay with me tonight," I whispered against his chest. "Just like this." "I'm not going anywhere," he answered, kissing my hair. We changed into dry clothes, me in an oversized t-shirt, him in a simple shirt and shorts he borrowed from his house. Then we curled up on the big couch together. I lay half on top of him, my head on his chest, one leg draped over his. His arms wrapped around me completely, one hand resting on my hip, the other stroking my arm in long, slow movements. We talked until late into the night, about fears we had never told anyone, about the kind of future we secretly hoped for. Every few minutes he would tilt my face up for another soft kiss, sometimes on the lips, sometimes on my closed eyelids, sometimes just pressing his mouth to my forehead and lingering there. The physical closeness never left us. Even when words stopped, our bodies stayed connected, hips touching, arms around each other, fingers intertwined. The longing was always there, warm and beautiful, making every touch feel precious. In the middle of the night, when the rain had softened to a whisper, I woke up slightly. He was still holding me tightly. I shifted closer and kissed his collarbone. He stirred, smiled sleepily, and pulled me even tighter against him. His hand slid under my shirt to rest flat on my lower back, skin against skin, warm and steady. We fell back asleep like that, wrapped in each other. The rest of the month passed in the same gentle rhythm. Every evening we found new ways to stay close, cooking simple meals together in my tiny kitchen, his chest against my back as he reached for things, his arms around my waist while I stirred. Sitting on the beach at sunset with me between his legs, his chin on my shoulder, hands linked over my stomach. Slow walks where we stopped every few minutes just to hold each other and kiss under the fading light. We never rushed. We let the emotional connection grow deeper with every touch, every shared secret, every soft kiss. The tension between us was constant, that sweet ache of wanting to be even closer, of feeling our hearts opening wider each day. But we kept it tender, respectful, full of care. On the last night before I had to return to the city, we sat on the porch again. The moon was full and bright. Samir pulled me into his lap, my legs straddling his hips gently. His hands rested on my waist, thumbs moving in slow circles. I had my arms around his neck, forehead against his. "I don't want this to end," I whispered. "It doesn't have to," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "We can keep finding ways to be close, even when we're far apart." He kissed me then, long, slow, and full of everything we felt. Our bodies pressed together perfectly. His arms held me like he never wanted to let go. I kissed him back with the same longing, pouring all my feelings into that moment. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his head against my chest, listening to my heartbeat. I stroked his hair gently, holding him close. The next morning, he helped me pack my car. His hand stayed on my lower back the whole time. At the last moment, before I got in, he pulled me into one final embrace. We stood there for a long time, arms wrapped tightly around each other, hips touching, breathing together. He kissed me softly on the lips, then on both cheeks, then my forehead. "Drive safe," he whispered, "and call me when you reach." "I will." As I drove away, I could still feel the warmth of his hands on my waist, the memory of his arms around me, and the sweet ache in my chest that told me this was only the beginning. Samir had come into my life with one simple touch of his arm against mine while carrying a box. That touch had opened something deep inside me. Now I carried the memory of every gentle kiss, every warm embrace, and the beautiful emotional connection we had built together. I knew I would be back to the beach house soon, and I knew he would be waiting, ready to pull me close again, to hold me, to kiss me, and to keep building this tender, longing-filled connection that felt like the start of something real and beautiful.